Life, her
Every day we go through trials and tribulations, but I want you to know that you are really special and you have a life ahead of you. We want to work on self-healing. We want to work on self-love. I want you to know that you are a queen, that you are destined to be. And with this here podcast, you're going to learn that. And I want you to listen to every story that a woman have and just know, let's work, baby. Hey ladies, welcome to Life Her Podcast. I'm your host, Yvette Lloyd. I know this wonderful woman. Her name is Brandy Coffey. She has sweetly created for you. And I'm telling you ladies, these candles are amazing and they look delicious, even though you can't eat them, but they look really, really good. Hi Brandy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine. So what led you on to start such an amazing business?
I started Sweetly Created for You in 2011. When I started Sweetly Created for You, I had cancer twice. I had third stage colon cancer and thyroid cancer. But when I was going through chemo for third stage colon cancer, I was trying to find something to keep my mind occupied while I was going through the process. So I got a book at Goodyear Library on candle making, DIY of candle making.
Wow.
And so I just started from there. I found a lady on Craigslist who just happened to be, she had just got married and she was merging her stuff with her husband's stuff. So she needed to get rid of a bunch of her craft stuff that she had. And it just so happened she had maybe 3 trash bags full of candle stuff.
Wow.
And it probably, now knowing how much stuff costs, it probably is about over $300 worth of stuff. And I paid $50 for it.
What?
And I didn't know, it had wicks, it had, it just had everything, scents, colors, and I didn't know anything about it. So when I had bought it, it was me and my daughters. We went down. We met her. She stayed in Canton by the airport.
Okay.
And we went down there, met her, picked up the stuff, and came back home. And then I just started going through all the stuff. I had no idea what I was doing. But it was just put on my heart that, okay, you can do this. Because I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I never knew, nothing. I knew I was crafty, but I didn't know what my niche was.
Right.
What is my gift, I should say. So it started from there. And then I just did trial of making candles. And I was doing chemo, like I said, at that time. So the first candles were really big and bulky. They were ridiculous. And they, the first person I sold a candle to was actually a nurse who was helping me, assist me, giving me my chemo. She was the first person that ever bought a candle. She had bought, it was a pillar candle. It was a big blue pillar candle, and it was a clean cotton scent. And that was the first candle I ever sold. And from there, it kind of just, I did a craft show, probably maybe about 3 months after that. I made a bunch of product, did a craft show at Elliott High School, and and when they put me it was in the gym, and they put me by, it was a national brand. I can't think of who it was. But it was someone that was out there as far as kind of like a Yankee Candle kind of thing. So someone that was well known. And so then you have me. No one's ever heard of me. So they sat me right next to them.
Really? Were you nervous?
Oh my gosh. I was super nervous. And then I was so upset because I was like, why would they sit a small business person right next to a chain? And because everyone, of course, is going to go to the chain because they don't know my business. And people would come by and they would smell them and say how good they smell, and they were so pretty. But I think I might have sold one, maybe two things. I was so discouraged.
Really?
Yes. And I was just like, like, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? It's like when you question all that. And then my daughters are very, very important at that time because they would just, kind of, and they didn't know that they were pouring into me, but they were because they were like, you can do it. And two, I was going through chemo, so it was just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stopped making them for a while because it didn't seem like they were selling.
Uh-huh.
And I go to City of Joy, so it just so happened we were going into a fast at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into the fast. I stopped making candles. I couldn't figure out like a logo. It didn't seem to be really coming together. So then I was just like, okay, I'm going to go through the fast. And when I was going through the fast, I was just like, Lord, I need you to guide me. Show me if this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like kind of like open the doors with different things. So I went through the fast. And once I came through it, when I got done, I revamped the entire candles. That's when they became dessert candles where they look like desserts in a cup, to like banana pudding, blueberry cheesecake, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the logo, I couldn't figure out what I wanted the logo to look like. And so I went to this lady to have her create it. And so she came back to me with she asked me like a 2-page questionnaire. And she asked me, like, and I told her I wanted to be kind of animated.
Right.
But I wasn't sure. So she came back with 2 different logos. She came back with my girl, and then she came back with, like, this kind of, like, streamline logo.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl had all pink on, and then the other logo. So I told her I wasn't sure. And then she told me, she's like, if you plan on going in stores like Walmart or Target, you probably should pick the one that's more streamlined because it fits in.
Right.
And I was just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then I was like, but something was just like, no, you don't want to fit in.
Exactly.
Like you want to sit out. Like you want, when people come see your candle, you want it to stand out. And then I was just like, well, no, maybe I'll just get just trying to be, in sync with what everybody else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't sit right. So then I told her no. I said, I actually think I'm going to go with the girl logo, which is what I have now. Uh-huh. And I said, the only thing that I ask is that if you can change your clothes to blue, because blue represents for colon cancer. Okay. So I said, if you can change your clothes to blue, I want her. I don't want the one that fits in. Right. And I explained to her, like my vision that God had gave me for it. And I said, I don't want, when people come across, if that's a path I go is in stores, I don't want it to fit in. Exactly. I want it to stand out. I want people to see someone on the logo that maybe looks like them or looks like their daughter, or they can, it resonates with them. So she created the logo, and that's how I got my logo. Wow. Just standing on faith. Mm-hmm. And then when I redid it and made the candles like in the containers and things like that, then I started seeing like doors open.
Mm-hmm. One thing I want to bring you and our listeners to attention, like when we're coming up with a business and we see that it's other people that's doing the same exact thing, it doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing as them. You were given a gift from God. So God wanted you to create this gift on how you see it and how he see it. And sometimes when we next to another company, it shouldn't be discouraging. It should be uplifting, because you like, okay, one day that's going to be me. I'm going to be right there. So you have to understand your path. That was their path, and you have your own path. You got to go into anything that you do within confidence. You always have to have that confidence. That's like me having I have daycare centers and I have a youth program. Everyone has a daycare center. Everybody has a youth program, but I stay in my lane. Mm-hmm. I know exactly what direction I'm going into, And I try to be as unique as possible because I don't want to have the same image as another person on far as how they run their business. And it's with passion. And this is something that is your passion and you just do it so well. I'm telling y'all, if y'all see these candles, they are off the chain. And, you know, we got to think about how many companies, it's like, people get an example all the time, like apple juice. We got different brands of apple juice. And they literally all taste different. I'm an apple juice person, so. But they all taste different. But that's like you have your candles, but they all smell different from other companies too. So you always have to keep that in mind so you can just keep going. If you just stay in your own lane, your own tunnel vision, you will keep going. I'm telling you.
That's what I've learned. I guess now, because people will say I'm seasoned because I've been doing it so long, that like now when I do shows, like I do some shows where it's like 3 other candle people, and then but I know that like what God has is for me. So and I know like it's not just, of course I do it to make money, however that's not the focus. The focus is for people to understand, like to hear my testimony as far as like what I've been through, and then also just to see like how God has just done so much in my business. I try to stay true to the vision that He gives me, and I always say like it's His business, I'm just running it for Him.
Yes.
So I try to stay true. So when I do like different things, like whether it's going into stores or doing shows, I always try to ask Him, like, is that the direction that I'm supposed to be going in? Because sometimes people will be like, oh, they'll inbox and say, can you do like a craft show or can you do this? I don't always do everything that I'm offered because not everything is for me.
Exactly. And then your next opportunity is going to be exactly of what you're looking for. You know, and even when you say you sold like 1 or 2 candles, sometimes you have to go in and like, man, if I just sell 1, that means that one person can lead another person to my company, you know, and you have to think like that. That's how, like when I first started my daycare, oh my God, I had probably like 2 kids for a long time when I first started, when it was in my home. But it's like, I'm like, okay, I need to figure out different ways to brand it. And, you know, and that's exactly what you're doing right now. You finding different ways. And that's really good that you're putting yourself out there and do a lot of things. Again, y'all, I'm telling you, these candles and stuff.
Another thing I found is that it's networking. Not every time you do a show, you're there to sell. You probably go in with the intention to sell. But I've did shows where I remember it was a show down in front of the library I did, and I sold maybe 3 candles. However, I made a connection with a husband and wife that I end up doing business with for a while, and I ended up doing that was one of the probably like the second candles that I branded for a business. So I've realized that not all the time when you do shows, when you go into something, it's not always about selling. Sometimes it's a networking piece, or the people that God has put there for you to meet. Because had I never did that show, I would have never met them and never thought even about branding for businesses.
Right.
So it was just, so that's my mindset now, but that takes time to get like that. And then it takes like trials and tribulations, because a lot of things that I've learned with candle making, I've taught myself. I've YouTubed, I've read, however I can get information. I'm always learning, always trying to educate myself on different stuff. I hold myself to my own standard.
Yes.
And because probably like in my generation, I'm the only entrepreneur that I know in my family.
Wow.
So I'm trying to build a foundation.
Breaking a cycle.
Yes. And create something for my daughters.
Yes.
And then I have a granddaughter that's on the way. Something for them to be able, it may not be complete, but it'll be the foundation that they'll have. So I don't have a blueprint. I'm creating my own blueprint.
That's a blessing.
So I try to just hold myself to a different standard and to keep focus, because it's very easy to get distracted, especially like with social media and stuff, and you see other people doing stuff or like clicks, things like that. You see that, but you have to be focused, and that's too when it comes with who you have in your circle. Is very important as well. So I try to just stay focused on what God has for me, because I always believe what He has for me. Because like you said, there's a ton of candle companies, but Yankee Candle started in their garage, and look at them now.
Yeah.
So, and I have and I don't mind sharing knowledge.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can find it anywhere.
Yes.
And then if I can help someone on their journey, like I have a guy who reached out to me. I think he stays in New Orleans. He inboxed me. He saw my he went on my page and then saw all my stuff. And then he reached out, and so now I mentor him with making candles.
That's nice.
And it's just, I don't think of it as like, because someone was like, "Oh, you're gonna tell like this and that," and I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like,
your path is different from his.
I'm like, they can make the exact same thing, but it's a story, like it's a testimony behind my stuff. People sometimes they buy your stuff because of who you are. Like your testimony, your story, that's why they buy your product sometimes. So if they hear that, because you never know what someone is going through themselves. Like, you may have people that are dealing with a sickness or anything like that. So you just have to be mindful.
That's really sweet of you. That's really sweet. So tell me a little about you going through chemo. How did you, when did you find out you had colon cancer and everything?
So when I found I think this is in our culture too, that a lot of times we don't go to the doctor like we're supposed to. And my dad, especially with men, they don't go to the doctor like they're supposed to. Women do, probably more so than men do, but men don't. And my dad used to always say, when you get older, you're going to have to get a colonoscopy. You're going to have to get a colonoscopy. But he never said why. So I was like, well, okay, I'll get one. It's just one of those things you put off. And then it got to the point where I was having problems going to the bathroom. So I ended up scheduling an appointment. So when I went, they sent me to a specialist. So then I had to get a colonoscopy. When I got one, he stated that it was me and my mom there. And he said that when he did it and I came back out from under it, he said that I had over 100 polyps in my colon. Wow. And majority of them are cancerous.
Wow.
Because they had been there for so long. And he said that I would have to go, of course, see a chemo doctor. So I went to City Hospital, which they were super awesome. And I ended up doing chemo for 6 months every other weekend. And then the weekends when I had to do it, I would go in Fridays, and they would give you you would go through your treatment, but then they would give you a push of chemo. And then on Sundays, the nurse, and then I had to have it. So I had this, the chemo was running in me all weekend. And then on Sundays, the nurse would come out and then take it out of my port. And then I would go a week, and then the following week I would repeat the process. Wow. So that was my journey with doing chemo.
So what else did you go through?
When I was doing, I would say, so when I did that, I ended up having to have, because most of my colon is gone. So I had to have a ileostomy bag for a year.
Wow.
So I had that for a year, which was very, it was a lot because I think the first thing I thought was I would never find like a husband because I have this ileostomy bag. I had, it's just like things that you go through mentally when you're going through something like that. And so after a year, I end up having, they end up reversing it. I did a reversal. Mm-hmm. So I'd be able to go to the potty like normal. But then once I had the reversal, I was in the hospital recuperating, and then they told me that I had thyroid cancer.
Wow.
So then, and I was literally in the bed at Cleveland Clinic recuperating, and I had tests done like right before I went into surgery. So I was recuperating, and she called me while I was at the hospital in the bed to tell me that I had thyroid cancer. So I had to have my thyroid taken out.
Wow.
So I was just like, that's a lot. I'm like, Lord, it's a lot. It touched your faith a lot. Because I remember, because my girls were younger, and I just remember, like, thinking, like, Lord, I don't want to leave. It's too soon. Like, it's a lot of stuff I haven't done yet, and then it's mainly your kids. Like, I don't want to leave my kids here. I don't want anyone else raising my kids. And I remember my dad calling me one night, and I remember just crying to him on the phone, like, I don't understand, what did I do to deserve to have cancer? And then once I got off the phone with my dad, I remember just laying in my bed crying. But then I remember the Lord just coming to me and just telling me, he was just like whispering in my ear, like, I'm not punishing you. This is just something. You're stronger than what you think you are. Because I had just gone through a divorce with my ex-husband I was with for like 14 years. So he had just, I had just went through that. But I felt like when I was going through chemo, it was just like a way for me, because I was still stuck on him. Mm-hmm. Because we had been together for so long, and it was so hard for me to detach myself. But it was like, in order for me to completely heal from him, the Lord had to take me through this. And he couldn't go through this with me. I needed to go through this by myself, so I can see like what my strength was. Mm-hmm. So it was just, I guess it was just like the start of my journey with my faith. Just knowing who God was, and then standing on his word and trusting him. And no, I've not always been perfect. And, we sometimes our flesh doesn't, we say, oh God, even though he's taking me through so much, sometimes you still question things. However, it was just the start of my journey with my faith, and just knowing who he is, and just depending on him instead of others.
Wow. That's really deep. Because, so when you going through all of this, trials of life, like, did you find yourself wanting to give up? Or have you ever thought about, some people get in a depression phase. They find themselves closed in and everything. Did you find yourself getting like that?
I would say, yeah, I did. But I think I really did, like, last year, because it's been last year. I got really sick last year, and I was at work, and then I was having these really bad cramps, so I ended up leaving and going to emergency. And when I went into emergency, they told me I had, it was like a blockage. Oh. And so I ended up going, when I went to emergency, they said, okay, you're probably going to eventually have to have surgery. And then instead of me, like, everything was, nothing would stay down, everything would come out. So I was just throwing up, like, everywhere. Uh-huh. And he told me that, so then he came back in and was like, well, you'll probably have to have surgery today. And I said, okay, because there was nobody in the hospital with me. And then he came back in and he was like, well, we're going to have surgery probably within the next half an hour.
Wow.
And I was just like, wait. And I just started crying because nobody was there. And then I thought, like, I'm probably going to die. That was my first thought because I was like, Lord, why would you... Like, normally if you have surgery and you know about it, you prepare yourself, you get things in order, stuff like that. But when he was like, okay, you're going to have emergency surgery, that was my first thought. It's like, I'm going to die. And I was just like hysterical. And I was calling everybody, like my friends, my family, and telling them like I'm about to go into surgery. And everybody was like coming up there, but nobody was there. Wow. And I remember when they took me back to prepare me for surgery, it was this nurse. It was a guy nurse. And he was getting my IV and stuff. And he was like, what's wrong? He's like, you just crying. And I said, because I was like, I'm by myself. And I remember him telling me, he's like, since you're here by yourself, he's like, I'm not going to leave you. He's like, when you come out, I'll be here. Aww. And when I came out of surgery, so I wear glasses. Uh-huh. So, you have to take off your glasses. Yeah. So when I get out of surgery, it was so quiet. And then I just seen this figure, like, sitting in the middle of the floor. And I was like, oh, God, I died. Aww. That was the first thing I thought because I couldn't see. Uh-huh. I can't see anything without my glasses. So I was just like, oh, my gosh. And then when the guy got up and walked towards me. And he's like, I told you I wasn't going to leave you until you came out and made sure you were okay. And then I knew, that was here. Yeah. But I was just like, oh my goodness. And then that started a process of, I ended up being in the hospital for 3 months. Wow. Because I ended up going into respiratory failure. And then I was septic in my body. And then it just was like going downhill. And then I fell into depression because it felt like, I went in for one thing, expecting to be in maybe like 3 or 4 days. Mm-hmm. But now it's turning into, because when I went into the hospital, I was at 3 different hospitals. And then I was in ICU for a lot of them. And I was just like at that point, I was just like, if I'm going to die, like, just let me die because this is just a lot. I couldn't see the end of the tunnel. And then it wasn't until I was just like, okay, God, like, if this is, like, my time, then I need to be okay with it. Allow me to be okay with it so I can let my daughters be okay with it. And not that they would be okay with it, but so they wouldn't see me scared. Mm-hmm. And then let my friends and family, like, know that I'm in a good place, like, I'm okay with it. I think that's the time when I was really scared and I was just like super depressed because the nurses said they can tell that I got depressed because when I first came in, my mood was different and I could tell that I was different. Aww. But it was just because I didn't know like how long I was going to be in there. I didn't talk for 3 months. I had a trach and so I was being fed by tube? Yeah, by tube fed. So it was just like, and then not being able, just your independence where you're waiting for people to come in and as a woman to clean you up. You can't clean yourself up. It's like so degrading. And then you have people that are there to do a job, to get a paycheck. And that's how they treat you. Really? And like, or I had one nurse that I, like when she came, I just loved when she came because I knew that she was going to make sure like I was together, clean, that I had fresh PJs on, that I had a bath versus some of the other women that were just there and, I couldn't do I couldn't wipe myself. I couldn't do anything.
And they just wasn't doing it right.
No. Wow. And it was just like so, I couldn't talk. So I'm writing everything down, and then I'm getting so frustrated because people, like, you can only write so fast. So then you're trying to mouth stuff and they can't understand you. It was just like, God, like, why do you have me in this space? I'm like, I've had cancer twice. Why am I going through this again? Like, why am I being tested this way? But it's just like through that, it's just like, he needed me to be still.
Mm-hmm.
He needed me to be still, and he needed me to refocus on what was important, because so many times that we get caught up in the world.
Yes.
And what's going on, and we all got bills. We get caught up in that, and the materialistic stuff. And it was just like, I describe it as like he just plucked me out of my life for 3 months and said, I need to spend some time with you, daughter.
Aww.
And then once he was done, he just put me right back in, because when I got home,
mm-hmm.
it was like I was in the process of washing before I left, so clothes was still like right where I left them. I was working on candle orders. They were just sitting on the table. So it's just like he literally plucked me out of my life for 3 months, and then he put me back in.
Yeah, like, here,
and it was
work.
Just like,
oh wow,
it was awesome as far as the experience, and just to see how many people, because sometimes we say, like how our life doesn't mean anything. Like, if I wasn't here, nobody would miss me. Sometimes you have that mentality, because you lose yourself in the world.
And sometimes the people that mean the most to you, mm-hmm. it's like sometimes people will have that mindset, like they really don't care about me, and then if I'm gone, they're not gonna miss me. So that gives people like a mindset sometimes. I was in a space like that before, and I'll just be like, okay, if I'm gone, won't nobody miss mm-hmm. me. But then I had the mindset of like, okay, I wish everyone will love me the way they would love me if I wasn't here. Mm-hmm. I want them to love me like that now. So it's kind of, it's just a lot for when a person go through so much when we're here and no one is there for us. It's like we just feel so empty and we don't have nobody to turn to. But it's like, dang, so if I'm gone, you all want to notice me, you all want to acknowledge me, you all want to purchase things for me, you want to support me. Now, your mind play tricks on you like that. So I already know you was probably feeling that way too.
Yes.
Many times.
I was, and then too, it was like the Lord was like, since you feel like this, I'm going to let you see what you mean to people. It's like he gave me a sneak peek. And when I tell you, I was in the hospital for 3 months, and then I went to rehab for a week. Every single day, if I didn't have someone coming to visit, people calling, like every day, people from my church family, I had so many people praying for, it was like, I had one of my good friends, Shay, mm-hmm. made a shirt that says a product of prayer.
Wow.
Because I truly believe that I'm a product of prayer, because I feel like everybody that knew me or knew my family, my mom, church was praying for me. It's like they bombarded heaven, and it was like God heard that, and he said, I'm going to leave you here. And it was just an experience, just like, it's so indescribable. But I was literally on my deathbed. And I feel like God heard their prayers. And he said, it's not your time yet, daughter. And I believe that that's why I'm here. So sometimes I'll hashtag miracle walking, because I truly am a miracle. And I truly am a product of prayer. I read somewhere on social media where someone said, prayer doesn't work. And I had to post my testimony. Like, I'm literally a product of prayer. Prayer does work. Mm-hmm. It's not like a fast food thing where, you can say, well, I want this and this. No, prayer doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and it's not even going to work when you want it to work either. Right. A lot of times it happens unexpectedly, because, we all go through forms of struggle.
Yep.
And you just be like, why are you putting me through this? And it is painful. Yes. And then when you're so anxious, it get even more painful. And then once you find yourself relaxed and you really just think about it, like, okay, I see where you're going with this. And then next thing you know, that blessing to come.
Yeah.
Yep, it just hits you like boom. So how is your health today?
It is very good. My health is good. I have a shirt on that says I don't look like what I've been through. Because I don't. The only thing that I have is my trach scar, which I was when I first had I kept it covered with a Band-Aid. And someone was like, why do you have that covered up?
Really?
And I was like, because I was like, it's ugly. And they was like, no, that's your beauty mark.
Yeah, it's your testimony.
Show, what God brought you through. But my health is good. And I believe that He kept me so I could see. I'm so big on legacy, creating a legacy. Mm-hmm. And my first grandchild will be here in December.
Oh,
so I believe that the Lord kept me so I'm able to see her being born, and she's a girl, and to be able to pour into her. Oh, she's ridiculous.
She probably spoiled already.
She got enough clothes for 2 dressers.
Lord.
It's ridiculous.
Aww.
But I could not be here. So I just blessed beyond measure. And I try to take every day. And not saying I still get in a funk.
Yes.
I think that's just who we are. However, I don't stay there. Mm-hmm. Because I know that, last year I was struggling to live, fighting. And so I can't stay there. So, yeah.
No, so what is something that you could tell a woman to make her feel uplifted, for her to keep going, and telling her to be strong, it'll be okay? What is something you could tell our listeners?
What I would say is, and it's probably cliche, is my faith. And it's not saying that you have to read your Bible every day, but you have to find what your journey is. I think to purpose. You have to find what your purpose is in life. Life is not about the everyday going to work, coming home, paying bills. It's not that. Life is so much more than that. You have to figure out what your purpose is. And it doesn't always just come to you. Journaling is a big thing that you can do to get your thoughts out. But I would just say, to find your purpose, connect with women that are like-minded.
Yes.
Or they may be on another level that you aren't on. However, they don't mind sharing what they have. Mm-hmm. I have, one of my friends told me, don't let everyone in your garden, because not everyone is supposed to be there. And I had to learn who my true friends were.
Yes.
And I didn't really have, as women, it's so hard because I feel like we're really catty sometimes.
Yes.
And it's so hard to have people around you that you trust. Yeah. And I'm 42. And I just started having relationships that I actually could call for anything or talk to them about anything probably at 40. So 2 years. And not to say that the friendships that I had prior to that were not, but it's like you get to another level.
Yeah.
And you can't, not everyone is going with you. And I think that that's a thing you have to learn too, that you have to sometimes cut people out of your life. And it's not being mean, it's just what's necessary in order for you to grow. Because people will keep you grounded where they are if they're on a different level, or if they see you striving. They'll keep you trying to pull you down, or that's when you have people whispering stuff in your ears, and that gets to you. So
yes,
keeping people around you that are either like-minded or able to pour into you I think is key too. I would encourage with that as well, and just enjoy life.
Yes,
life is not supposed to be a struggle. And we all have our trials and tribulations, but it's how you deal with them. You can let it beat you down, or you can say, okay, this is what it is. So what are we going to do about it? You can't change. You're going to always have bills to pay. arguing with your husband, your boyfriend, you know, your kids get on your nerves. You're going to always have that. But you have to learn how to not allow that to, like, just take your spirit down.
Right.
And you have to create a space in your home, somewhere where you can just go, and if you don't do anything but just sit, maybe and journal. I journal a lot, and I also created a wall, a prayer wall.
That's nice.
Where I have prayers on it of, you know, the people may have asked me to pray for, or if the Lord puts somebody on my heart, I'll pray for them, you know, put it on there.
Mm-hmm.
But creating a space, you just have to create just a space where you are that's sacred for you.
Yeah, like a space of healing.
Yes.
Most
that's
definitely
so important, because you lose yourself, and as women, we're moms and wives and girlfriends and, you know, business owners. You put yourself, you have so many titles, and, you know, taking care of you is the back title, but everything else is in the front. But you have to learn how, sometimes you have to move all that stuff out and then take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to lose yourself and everything that you have going on, then you won't be no good to anyone. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's important, even if it's not doing anything, but once a week, take yourself out to dinner, or take yourself to a movie, or call a girlfriend and say, hey, can you come over, or come over to the house, create a space at the house. You have to do something that keeps you uplifted.
Yes. You hear that, ladies? Yes, you always have to keep yourself uplifted and keep yourself going. Where I could find a lot of people, just because you have years of friendship with that person, or, you know, or a person is your family, but you have to recognize a toxic person when you're around that person. And sometimes you have to create your whole space just for you to stay away from that person, or limit your conversations with them. Engaging in conversations of negativity and all of that. You have to create your own peace and just accept and pour into other people in a godly way, or just a positive way, and just have positive conversations instead of negativity. I find that a lot of people find themselves seeing problems in other people instead of problems within themselves. So that's something real huge that you ladies going to have to practice doing. It is so hard, because some of us women, we've been doing it for so long, so it's a habit.
Yes.
So it's just something natural that comes out. But you have to work on you and look at the things that you go through yourself. So, I would like to know, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Okay, so how to get in touch with me? I'm on Facebook. My business is on Facebook under Sweetly Created for You. It's Sweetly Created for You, the number 4 and a letter U. And then also I have a website, which is www.sc, the number 4, the letter U, candles.com. Also on Instagram. And then too, you can message me. I'm really accessible to people. I'm very open. I'm very quiet.
Yes.
But once I open up, I'm a people person. As far as I like to watch people, that's just how I am. But I'm very open, like, to questions. Like, if you have a question about anything, or maybe if you're going through anything, I would be more than happy to talk to people. I have different product lines. One of the product lines that I have is called a prayer line, that I created for just kind of to help with your prayer life, as like your prayer journey. I think I have four different ones that I offer that you're able to that you can see on my website. But it's kind of just to help, and I do use those like in my quiet time, I use candles a lot, of course, because I'm always making them. However, if I didn't use candles, I still would. If I didn't make them, I would still use them. But I would say those are the ways that you can contact me. I'm very accessible to people.
Well, thank you, Brandy, for coming out. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Life Her Podcast, where we help heal women all over the world. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and that is Life Her Podcast when you look us up. And you can also go onto our website, www.lifeherpodcast.com. And you can also listen to other podcast episodes and purchase merchandise for Life Her. I am Yvette Lloyd, and I am Life Her. Love yourself, ladies.